In the first game we played against them, the one we won, we had like 3 or 4% on the fan vote. But that doesn't bother us that much because we know that if you see a famous team and a team you don't know about, then of course you'll go with the famous team. I think that during the series the fan vote might heavily swing.
Well, welcome back to the European Challenger Series Spring Finals, where Origen is up 1-0 after coming out of the gate strong in Game 1 against Copenhagen Wolves Academy. Before we load into Champions Select, I would like to remind you guys that the European LCS Spring Playoffs will continue on the stage right behind me this weekend, starting with the best-of-5 semi-final match between second seed Fnatic and third place H2K Gaming on Saturday, as the teams battle it out for a shot in the Spring Finals in Madrid, Spain.
And if you're wondering where Primetime League is, don't worry, it's coming your way tomorrow at 1 AM Central European Time, 4 PM Pacific Time, and we'll be back at its regular Wednesday spot next week. And I can't wait. Second game coming up as well between Origen and the Copenhagen Wolves Academy. Game 1 was fairly standard from both teams, but now what happens in Game 2? This is where anything could just go crazy.
Yeah, I feel like the Wolves, though, still in fighting spirit. Let's take a look at the Champions Select, though, and see where the teams go from here. As you mentioned, all of those picks in the first game were pretty much comfort picks from both teams.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they do with this one, if they'll go basically the same route. Fisher was saying they could do the same thing, just not mess up the early game.
So something we really should have touched on in Game 1, and we'll talk about now, is that Malphite ban. Malphite banned away because it kind of is the containment pick against a lot of Morsu's champions. Think back last week, Morsu was like, triple ban me, or pick Malphite, or I'll win.
Yes, or you're gonna have a bad time were his words, and well, they ban out the Malphite, so where's the triple ban? We're waiting for an Irelia pickup, maybe my Morsu. Stars could pick it away, but we haven't really seen him play those AD top laners like Irelia. We do see the Severe ban away from Nils here. We played it last game. Visibility has only played it once, so I mean, he likes the Corkis, he likes the Graves. It's gonna be Rek'Sai banned against Amazing as well. Yeah,
some good change-ups here to ban out 2 of the strongest from the last game. Maokai is still available. Origen have also flexed Morgana from a first pick, the same with Lissandra. I mean, it looks like they're not opting towards those 3, but I like the change-up here from strategy out of the Copenhagen Wolves. Sivir, Rek'Sai takes away a lot of that engage potential or mobility that Origen showed us last game.
And talking about Origen, it will be their first pick of Gragas going into the jungle for Amazing. He's played this before, he'll play it again, adapting well to the tank meta, building those Cinderhawk items. Kyrie has done a little bit in the past couple of weeks, but has typically stuck to his Rangars, the Elises, and the Nidalees, which I'm currently looking at right now.
And Gragas is another champion that Origen can flex. We've seen Soaz played in the top lane as well, so it's a favorite champion for both top and jungle. No need to show anything. There isn't really anything first pick worthy that would be locked down that early, unless they were going to look for the LeBlanc again. But with Copenhagen Wolves on the red side, they will get the counter pick for their matchup.
So it will be the Swajani as their first pick, and we're just waiting for the other one here. So it will be the kind of opposite of Gragas. Some people sit in the Gragas camp, some people sit in the Swajani camp, but what is for certain is they both build Cinderhawk, and they both get very tanky. It's going to be great as well for visibility.
Both are very reliant as well on that level 6 point. Both of them can both engage and disengage, depending on exactly their setup here. But the Graves coming out for Visibility, you talked about it earlier. 11 of the 12 games, I believe it is, has been Corki or Graves for Visibility.
Now 12 out of 13.
Now 12 out of 14. Because we've
13 out of 14.
Maths, that's how that works. But what I do know is the Maokai has been locked in, as has the Morgana, and these are 2 quintessential champions here for Origen. This gives them a whole lot of protection for whatever they pick as an AD carry, and typically with this kind of setup, we've seen Origen favor a somewhat later game AD carry. We've seen them play the Kog'Maw a couple of times. They will potentially still look towards the Corki if they want it. That's off that Trinity Force rather than late game. So Origen still have a lot of open doors here when it comes to what they want to round out their comp with.
Yeah, and Nils has a very large AD carry champion pool, so he could literally pick anything here. It is the Maokai and Morgana, as you mentioned, from Origen. Now waiting towards Copenhagen Wolves' next couple picks. They hover over the Vlad, but depends what they really want to go for here. Whether they go for a team fight composition, they do of course have the Sojani, they do have the Graves, and they lock in both Vlad and Lulu. So yeah, get into that fight and blow some people up.
So this does two things here with the Vlad and the Lulu. This is completely forced out by both champions being available. This prevents Origen from running any kind of Juggernaut comp with the Lulu, and prevents the Vladimir that caused Reason Gaming so much trouble in the final 2 games last week from xPeke. So Copenhagen Wolves kind of forced their own hand here with their pick and ban phase, with the fact that they were 2 strong champions that they had to remove from Origen. And that now leaves COSQ or Morsu potentially in a situation here where they have to play Vlad into something that they may not be comfortable on.
Yeah, it also means that Origen have to think about what they're doing here. Some of the faces from Origen show that they're thinking about maybe a new type of direction to move in, as they may have gone for that Lulu. They have the ability as she can basically flex anywhere. And Vladimir as well means that Peke can't just be like, I'm playing Vladimir this game, I'm going to kill their entire team. But they still go down the same route. They pick up the Cogmore here, and they do the same thing as last time they ran the Juggernaut, is they just like, okay, we're going to go Juggernaut up until xPeke, where I'm just going to pick whatever I want. Last time it was Twisted Fate, this time it's LeBlanc.
Yeah, this composition is the one that they lost with against the Copenhagen Wolves Academy. It's a very similar setup here, just with a Twisted Fate rather than the LeBlanc, as you said. And that is a very fast lock-in that shows us it is Cassiopeia in that middle lane. And that leaves Morsu on Vladimir in the top lane. This is old school Vladimir, you have to think, which is going to be the Vlad, which as it's on Morsu is going to split push. Still a fair amount of team fight potential here out of Copenhagen Wolves Academy, but again, it's another champion that Morsu can just sit off in a side lane if he really, really wants to.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, Sheepy was talking about wanting to see a Cassiopeia. We're going to see it in this game, and he may be following the same mantra as Power of Evil in that mid lane, as he has picked up the exhaust. So we talked about how amazing that was. You even did a teleprompter segment on how amazing that exhaust did for Power of Evil.
Yeah, we'll have to see whether COSQ is quite on the same level as our double MVP winner Power of Evil, but this kind of composition out of Copenhagen Wolves has a lot of scaling. A Vladimir and a Cassiopeia want to go late game. On the other side of things, Origen are banking on the protection for the Cogmore late game and relying a lot on xPeke in the mid game. And after game 1, if there's somebody on LeBlanc that you would expect to be able to kind of carry over a tough mid-game, Peke certainly showed us a very strong performance.
Yeah, we'll be trying to get that early game advantage, but as we get into game, tweet at LOL Esports with the hashtags CWA win or OG win, and let us know if you think the Wolves can tie up the series, or if Origen can take it 2-0. We're mere seconds away from getting into the second game, ladies and gentlemen, and this will be so telling for the rest of the series. Origen now swapping into the blue corner, and it will be Copenhagen Wolves Academy sitting in the red.
Oh, this Vladimir pick, how is that going to work out for Morsu? We've seen Vlad in the mid lane predominantly across a lot of regions. Even saw it yesterday in Reason Gaming's amazing comeback, if anybody did catch that in our 3rd place game of the European Challenger Series. But we are into the final of the European Challenger Series. It is a best of 5 here, so this game still wouldn't put either team into the LCS, but it would put Origen one step away from that potential LCS spot.
Yeah, that's a horrible position for any team to be in, where they have to win 3 games in a row against a team who was so dominant. However, a win here would be very nice to even up the tables for Copenhagen Wolves Academy. They do sweep the top couple brushes. See if they can find Origen in wait, but they do not. It will be Origen heading into the jungle, getting the early vision control, maybe placing that ward towards the top side as well to spot up a potential lane swap.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that Origen left that breadcrumb trail of wards behind them, because there was a moment where if the Wolves had gone aggressive into their own jungle, Origen could have been caught out and caught unawares, but both teams are going to ward up on the top side of the map and make sure that no lane swaps are coming out, or even to set up lane swaps of their own, because Graves Lulu is going to bully around Cogmore Morgana no matter how you look at it. That is a lane that will push very quick and deal a lot of damage. And I do not think that Origen wants standard setup here in this game at all, which is why there have been so many wards early on. And Mythy shows his hand. They now see Niels and Mythy, along with the rest of Origen heading up towards the top side. So Copenhagen Wolves can't really call this lane swap, But we'll see whether they look to freeze or whether they look to fast push and kind of bounce the wave off the turret.
Yeah, so Hybrid now heads into the jungle here. We'll see what the play is from Copenhagen Wolves. Origen are going to lane swap again, and it worked so well for them last time. It really is just a matter of how the Wolves deal with this, because it really is the ripple effect from the early game, which is kind of how they fell behind in that game, could never really get back into it. Miffy lands a nice binding to harass Morsu back to his turret.
So Vlad in these very early levels has to make sure he stays in this experience range a lot more than some other 1v2 champions, especially with the fact that he's going to need his pool to survive any kind of ganks. But as soon as he's got pool and a couple of points in queue, he actually can sit very comfortably. But this is a very close invade here out of Origen here. It's going to be, I was going to say like ships passing in the night, but Kyrie has walked straight into the headlights of Origen, and they let him get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, Soaz did not want to jump on top of him with only one ability. Just gives him a backhand, says, go into your other jungle. Now goes into the top side of the map, and it is now Hybrid rotating up there. So it is 2 versus 4. Sapling over the wall, but they do have the vision with the ward. Will they go for this dive regardless? It's a little risky.
And now that you can see Lulu has joined and the pool has been skilled on Morsu, this is actually a very tricky dive to pull off here out of Origen, because Morsu's just going to drop underneath them, and Hybrid should be able to keep them alive, but he's dropping so fast.
This could be very, very messy. Hybrid goes down, but Kyrie comes in for the counter gank. There's Soaz, he drops in turn. That's a 1-for-1. They're still underneath this tower, but it's now retargeted minions. FLICKR, oh, that's actually amazing, who comes out with the first kill.
He died!
There's actually gets killed in return. Kyrie now getting chased down. Miffy has to land this binding if they want it, but that was a 2-for-2. We said it was going to be messy, and it was.
2-for-2 overall is not what Origen want from that situation. You dive a Vladimir who has his pool and a Lulu standing right next to him. That pretty much should give Morsu everything he needs in this setup to just survive. Now that Soaz is down in that bottom lane, Visility has to pull back away from the tower.
Kyrie is still sticking around this top jungle, though. He's got the double bust, but he is very low. He is level 3, though. Morsu keeping up the chase. Hybrid is there with the level 1. Comes out with the permafrost and does get the binding down. So he keeps himself alive, but he does have to burn his flash for that privilege. Copenhagen Wolves just taking a little bit back. FLICKR now heading into the top lane. The flash into the distortion and the ignite. Just needs one more auto attack. It may not be enough to take him down. It is! He bleeds out from the ignite.
Final tick of Ignite is just enough, and Kyrie played that so greedily, sticking around his jungle, trying to get kills with Morsu and Hybrid. He should have just been looking to back here. He's even got a Ranger's Trailblazer, and Smite was available. He could have just sat and farmed during that time, but he tried to be greedy and get kills with Morsu, and it just doesn't work out. Morsu is already okay in this situation now that he got that first kill.
So slight advantage to the team of Origen opening up this game. Exactly what they want is the Stalker's Blade, picked up by Amazing this game. Kyrie has gone for the Trailblazer. Will be keeping his morale high as he moves through the jungle. Will be able to go for those counter ganks. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, there is a slight advantage to Khan's Q, but basically even. FLICKR has no summoners, however. Bot lane, Visility has both, but he may have to burn some. As Amazing comes in with the E, the follow-up, and there's the flash from Visility. Meanwhile, Kyrie is in this jungle, trying to take away this blue buff. Hasn't even managed to go for it yet.
Well-worked gank in the bottom lane out of Amazing. Knew that max range body slam would be enough to kind of press Visility against the wall and force a flash out of him, but Visility is a little bit behind in CS, and now consider that Visility has been in a 1 versus 1 situation, and on the top side you had that very odd dive out of Origen that kind of held up Niels from farming. Visility needs to get himself into this game, and now he's maybe caught out. Kyrie is hit for the counter gank.
Amazing, once again, tries to get in range, doesn't have the flash though. Kyrie's there for the counter gank, follows up with the Arctic Assault. Soaz drops low, but so does Visility. Amazing just needs to keep auto-attacking away. We'll be able to take him out. Soaz drops low. Kyrie should be able to reclaim a kill hit, surely. Yes, he does, but will he get taken out by Amazing? He is currently out of mana, but does have that red buff. He turns around for a CS, but I'm not sure if it's worth it. Turns around, does hit him with the dog binding. Miffy from over the wall takes him out.
Great dog binding out of Miffy. And again, Kyrie is playing this so greedily. He's on a Sejuani pre-6. You don't have the most amount of map pressure. He comes for the counter gank, just barely survives, and then sticks around again, thinking Hybrid can bail him out of that situation. And there's just not a lot he can do that. Yes, he's picked up 2 kills already, which is great. It's going to get him towards Cinderhulk, but this could be so much cleaner out of the Copenhagen Wolves Academy. On the other side of the map, though, Get used to saying this. Morsu split pushing away, or at least just pushing. This time, all the turrets are up. He's in a safe spot.
Yeah, for the most of the game, we're going to be seeing Morsu not make an appearance in teamfights. He'll just be split pushing away, taking those turrets from them. He is currently sitting on his Amp Tome, looking towards his Hex Tech Revolver, which is the typical Vladimir build we see nowadays into the Will of Ancients. Have not seen many other champions build that item for a long, long time.
No, very long time.
In the mid lane, COSQ has gone for his tier, maybe looking towards the Ludens as well.
It will, however, be a scary prospect if Morsu can teleport into a fight.
Oh, yeah.
The Copenhagen Wolves Academy are already winning, because then their team fight potential just skyrockets through the roof. The damage amplification that's going to come from Morsu actually makes Copenhagen Wolves available to team fight with this composition. It's very similar to what Origen were running in their semi-final game, where you just team fight and have so much damage.
Well, Amazing is sneaking the dragon currently, and well, Copenhagen Wolves have literally no vision over the area, so he'll take this one for free. And the crab has just spawned. Hello.
Happy hour is a marvelous thing.
It is. Will he take the crab as well? Oh, look at that value.
Man, Amazing, just showing full control over this bottom side, and it's because Origen have swapped their bottom lane down into this bottom lane. That makes sense. 61 CS on Cogmore as well to 44 from Visility, and again, Visility was in the 1v1. Just so much pressure applied bottom lane after that failed gank top. Origen are just running away again with the laning phase, although then mid lane is fairly even. 1 kill separates them, and Morsu a tiny bit ahead on CS with a kill for himself. It's not quite as big a lead as last game, but the Wolves are still slightly behind.
Amazing is in the jungle of Kyrie. Kyrie took away that pink ward, kind of confused as to why it was there, and COSQ pops his ult, and there was not an X-Pecky there. He was expecting the distort in.
Yeah, he was exactly expecting the play that Power of Evil did against the LeBlanc, where you instant, petrify and gaze the LeBlanc. This time, Peke
faked him
just fakes him out, and COSQ outplays himself in that situation. That's a big ultimate not going to be available, and really reduces a lot of the ability now for COSQ and the Copenhagen Wolves to do anything.
I mean, what can COSQ now do in the middle lane? He doesn't have exhaust, doesn't have the ultimate, so if Peke wants to kill him, Peke's going to kill him.
Yeah.
And he just have a couple of seconds left on the exhaust, so that will be nice for now. We'll be clearing out these minion waves, and is now lagging behind in terms of CS against Peke. Top lane is now evened up, bottom lane has also evened up, so the Wolves aren't in a dire position just yet. Plus they have the great scaling from Vlad and Cassiopeia. They just need to make sure this game doesn't run away from them before it even gets started.
Yeah, I mean, going back to that castle, it's the kind of play that it's so 50-50. It's either magnificent or falls on its face. Yeah, exactly. If Peke had W'd in, that's a fantastic challenger big play. This time around, it doesn't work. But what will work is the tower push in the bottom lane, as Niels and Mithy have finally found themselves in front of that tower. And Niels is a good way to completing his Triforce as well.
Yeah, Kyrie heads into the bot lane. We'll be able to clear away the ward because they had a pink ward over it, but outside of the early aggression, the amount of times he's died, he's pretty much just stayed in his own jungle and just farmed it up. Doesn't want to risk the potential of Amazing counter-ganking him, which has happened so much so far. So by doing nothing, he's trying to get ahead. Amazing now in his own jungle will be farming away, has completed the Cinder Hook. Meanwhile, in the Kyrie camp, has picked up the Balmy Cinder and is a fair ways towards it. COSQ trying to get out of the distortions out from X-Peke.
Kyrie's hit level 6 though, and that's a really key point here with regards to how they can fight. They still need to make sure, because an ultimate is going to be very difficult to hit on the likes of an X-Peke right now, and the Black Shield will protect Niels in the case of a Sejuani ultimate, but Kyrie has to make sure that the first time he pulls that trigger on the prison, it has to hit. There's just no way that that misses, and Copenhagen Wolves can really survive a team fight this early on. They've got a tier stacking on the Cassiopeia. Graves still doesn't even have his BF sword yet, and Vladimir really needs time to scale. They absolutely need their ults to line up.
Yeah, Kyrie just dropping the blue buff low. Of course, it will never drop below 1 HP. Because there's a change that was made. Otherwise, it would be very annoying. You have the kind of Season 3 thing where you just always take it. It's like, well, sorry. Visility and Kyrie in the bottom lane, now pushing away at this turret, so as will just be holding down the fort with his Arcane Smash, and maybe building towards the Righteous Glory again, may even go towards the Rod of Ages, but he has the Catalyst, that's for sure. Bot lane is being pushed in here by the Wolves. There is no one really to react apart from Soaz, but do they have the damage? That's the question. He's throwing the minion way faster than they're destroying the turret. And this is 3 members committed down there, where Origen can do whatever they want around the rest of the map. Amazing has found Morsu. There comes the W, the drunken range. Follows up with the E. There's the ultimate, blasts him away back to his turret. There is no one to follow up. Morsu will be taking the opportunity to fall back to base, but is it going to be in time? There's the flash. There's the follow with the barrel roll. Will be coming in with the E now. Miffy is there trying to land the binding. Hemoplate comes out. Niels is there to follow up. It will be going to Miffy. Not the worst thing in the world, but he does go down. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, they try to get a return kill onto Soaz underneath this turret. Hybrid is tanking as many turret shots as he can before he goes down. Kyrie is tanking the turret. No, make that Vigility. And they do zone him away from the turret, but not before the minion line falls. And they still do not take this turret. What a heroic defense from Soaz.
Great defense out of Soaz. That's what a Maokai with the Catalyst plus his ultimate can do. He just 1v3'd under this tower. Yes, it will fall, but Kog'Maw is taking an inner tower in the top lane. He already took the outer just as Morsu died here. And that's Origen again playing around the map. I love what they're doing against Morsu. They're giving him an inch, but not letting him take a mile here. Every time I look at the scoreboard and I'm thinking Morsu, he's getting farmed. He's quietly getting there to the point Origen turn their attention back round to him and shut him down.
That's exactly what they need to do against this composition. So many times we've seen Morsu kind of just left in his own island and he just gets so much farm. But this time he's only drawing even with Soaz and has started itemizing up. But the Wolves will need a lot longer to make the composition start working and start coming back into the game. That being said, we've seen games before where compositions really do shine through. Think of the game yesterday, putting that on hold for a second as Peke jumps forwards in the middle lane.
Oh man, Kozq's flash burnt. Cassiopeia now going to be very immobile and amazing. Coming from the side here, does have his ultimate available, so could blast Vigility or Kozq forward into the rest of Origen. Peke's around as well, so there's still so much fight potential out of Origen right now that Copenhagen Wolves cannot stand by this turret. If I'm not mistaken, this turret is actually fairly low as it is. Yes, only a couple of 100 health on it, and with the dragon coming up as well, all Origen have to do is show pressure, force the Wolves away from the dragon area, and that should be an uncontested dragon. Although teleport is available for both top laners. Here comes Morsu into the fight. But there is no fight to attend yet.
Yeah, Kyrie is sitting on top of the teleport. This could go very messy for the Wolves, though. There's the ultimate from Miffy. He drops them low. Everyone's dropping in this team fight. Kyrie will be flashing away as the binding onto Vigility. Morsu is responding with the damage, but now they go for the follow-up, and they're looking to run the Wolves down. Niels will be flashing forward. He gets 1, he gets 3, and Peke will be keeping up the chase. He doesn't have the chains to lock anyone down, though. That's a 3 and 0 plus the dragon over to Origen.
Niels is having a great series here, but a very quiet series at the same time. That's the first time Niels has really stamped his authority on a fight, flashing forward on Kog'Maw because they knew they had the cleanup. Kyrie's ultimate was not enough to hold the rest of Origen back, and as we said, the Wolves want to scale here. They want to get towards the late game, and Origen, off a Triforce spike from Kog'Maw and the Righteous Glory here in their top lane, are able to take this fight. Here's the teleport in from Morsu. It's not the best positioning, and Kyrie already denied by a binding. Soaz appears in the middle of the team and can just reduce so much of this damage. And honestly, from this point, the Wolves are bunched up so much that Niels, all he's got to do is kite back away from Morsu with the heal, turn his attention back around, and pop the Vladimir, and get a couple more kills now after the flash.
Yeah, I really just want to highlight the fantastic ultimate in from Amazing. Meanwhile, would you have a scuffle here in the top river? They will be following on to Kyrie as well. The ball has been caught, and Niels will find another meal in the form of Kyrie. That's another kill, 5-0 and 2 in this game.
It's almost impossible now for the Copenhagen Wolves to take this game to the late game. 5-0-2 on Kog'Maw is going to have far more damage than Cass or Vlad.
Origen winning the fan vote, 81% to 19. Who can blame anyone for voting towards Origen, especially after the performance in the first game? There's the collateral damage. We'll be clearing away the back minion line, but that is delaying the inevitable in this one stress. They will just keep up the pressure. Peke with the distorts, clearing out the minion waves all day. And Origen, this is their game to lose currently. 10-3 in terms of kills, 4 towers over 1, plus the 2 dragons, complete control over the map.
Origen came in with a very clear game plan here as well, and it was in the early game, force Kyrie off the map. Just do not let him get anything, and then he'll undo the rest of the team by the fact that he's just not been able to get into either game 1 or game 2. And the rest of the Wolves are relying on Kyrie somewhat to make sure that they're safe in their lanes, to make sure that Morsu can split push. But the fact of the matter is, 2-4-1 on Sejuani at 17 minutes is just... Sejuani's never going to really get tanky here. You're looking at a 40-50 minute game here. And as we said, I don't think Niels is going to let the Wolves get there.
My big concern with the Wolves, though, is the games that they've won are games that they always snowball from the early game. And in neither of these games have they picked up an early advantage. The closest they got was this game, and they went 2-2 in the top lane before Kirei got caught. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, maybe his counterpart will do the same. Amazing will be body slamming away. There's the ultimate, knocking him towards the team. So as is there to lock him down with the twisted advance. Niels is in the back lines, raining down pain. There's the living artillery, not quite enough damage to finish off. Kirei, Kozchu maybe goes a little too far forwards. Indeed he does. He gets hit by the binding, and Soaz just needs to finish him off. It will be amazing coming out with the last hit.
Ooh, Hybrid's still in trouble. Oh, but just about gets himself away, and it's all because Niels is still at the mercy of the range of his ultimate. He's only level 10. Before that was level 9. Not quite at that extended range point for Kog'Maw, so couldn't quite pick up the kill onto Sejuani. Morsu got the Wolves a turret in the top lane, but it's going to be 2 inner turrets falling in favor of Origen.
Yeah, double wards go down in the middle lane. Morsu is now trading off against Soaz as the Hemo Plague. He'll be backing off the turret for now before that one wears off, so he doesn't get affected by the damage amp. Meanwhile, the Wolves in the mid lane look to perhaps cut Morsu off. Is he going to escape in time? Well, sapling over the wall means no for now. Miffy will be looking in here, does get the soul shackles down. You can pull, but you'll still get stunned, and Niels will still pick up the kill.
Oh, 6-0-3. The Wolves are going to look to push a turret down for themselves, but it's 6 towers to 2 in favor of Origen right now, so everything that the Wolves are trying to claw their way back into the game is just too little at this point. And this would take a staggering comeback here if the Wolves were going to hold on to it, but they have got a comp that could do that. They have got a comp that the later this game goes, the better chances, but the fact is, Visility not even at an infinity edge right now. Look at the items between these AD carries. Niels has a full Trinity Force and level 2 boots over what Visility has in his inventory already. And Visility still has the CS lead.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, now he's at least finished off his Infinity Edge, but you still wince when you look at the scoreboard and plus the item build so far. It's going to take a couple more item spikes before Copenhagen Wolves will either kind of get over the cloud line to still see what Origen are sitting at. Not really sure what I'm saying, but Copenhagen Wolves, they have a long way to go, that's for sure.
They do have a long way, and it's made even more difficult by the fact that Origen are already itemizing properly against this composition from the Wolves. You can see Miffy has been very versatile these last 2 games. Righteous Glory in game 1, now the Aegis of the Legion in game number 2. So that extra magic resist against this 2 AP threat comp in the late game, plus the extra shielding is just going to help Origen in these fights. And Copenhagen Wolves need to find damage from somewhere. They just don't have it right now.
Yeah, they have nothing in their back pocket. No pocket sand to throw at their opponents. Origen in the mid lane here. Will they be able to get a pick? They can pretty much do anything. They can teamfight, they can get a pick, they can out-rotate. The world is their oyster, or at least the Rift is. Do have Wolves heading in from the left-hand side, but they do get bound, that being from Kozchu. That will stop their assault temporarily. Kyrie trying to get in range, and that's a lot of damage from expecting to blow up the tank. He will be getting it with the last distortion. Amazing, still looking for his ultimate to come in. Knocks someone towards his team, but no one is following up fast enough. He'll be flashing away here. That is a 1 kill onto Kirei. Meanwhile, Morsu is in the back lines, but he doesn't really have the damage just yet. There's the Hemo Plague, will be followed up as well. Peke over the wall, but he didn't have pull this time around. Kozcu will be flattened as well by Peke. Visility in the back lines, also trying to get the kills down. He did manage to assassinate Niels, but they lost so much for it, and Soaz will chase him after. The tree is faster down than the graves. 4 for 1 in favor of Origen. Again, this just looked like a repeat of game 1.
And it all starts from the tank on the Copenhagen Wolves Academy getting blown to pieces by Peke's LeBlanc, and it just snowballs from there. Kozcu had a decent ultimate onto about two people from Origen. It was the best they could get. That's a nice ult, but there's no follow-up.
If there was only something behind it, Stress, that would have been fantastic, but what it does do is stop them from taking their middle inhibitor turret. But Origen always has something to go for, and this time it's going to be the Dragon.
And this will be their 3rd Dragon of the game. The Wolves haven't not been able to even take one dragon and against or with a scaling composition, if you let your opponents take multiple dragons, it's such a difficult route to come back through, because when you scale, you want the 5 dragon buff to help you through it. But look at the start of this. Kyrie even goes aggressive on Peke to start this off. The Wolves are just not in the position to take a fight like this. Morsu from the side just gets soloed down to half health by Soaz at this point. Morsu forced to use his own skills, which chunked him. There's the ult. It caught Niels, but it's only Visility that can carry through, and actually did get the kill with Morsu. So Niels was out of this fight, and it still went in favor of Origen.
The problem is they can land all these big AoE ultimates, the big damage, but it means that you still have to follow up and try and kill them, and Visility had to do just that by being at the back line between a tank line and his own team. So he had to be the front line there and ultimately die for it if they wanted to finish off any kills. And now they go for round 2. Hybrid is the one who's under the crosshairs of Xpeke. CosQ does have his ultimate here, so this is a little risky from Origen if they do get comboed down, but it's actually the Snake who's going to get comboed first. The middle turret is still being harassed down. They're going to try and tank it up with Soaz. He is ridiculously tanky, doesn't even really get scratched by that laser. Copenhagen Wolves do have to head back to base, and Origen, they just pressure down the inhib with sheer brute force.
I wonder whether we'll see the same play from them again as last game, where they just were decisive, recalled, and just went for Baron, because that's what we said they struggled with in their semi-final games, was making those decisive calls. This is a very different Origen than we saw against Reason Gaming.
Oh yeah, it is. When they get into the late game here, that will really kind of show more of the decision making. But they've grouped up so much early, and they've always just rotated Copenhagen Wolves. That being said, so much vision control going around this Baron area. Wolves are trying to capitalize on the fact that Origen have gone back to base and try and get something for it, but there's nothing really to go for unless they can get a pick onto Soaz. But it's going to take half a century to melt the tree.
Oh, the ult whiff.
That's the Q coming in. That's also the binding onto Kyrie. He will go down here. Hopefully, there's a barrel from Gragas maybe saving him. Not the case. Peke has the damage. Meanwhile, Hybrid gets hit up by Niels. That's his 8th kill of the game. Visility also gets bound. Cannot afford to do so. Make that the double kill. Looking for his triple. Waiting for that Vladimir to hit the grave. And he will be going out 4-0. CosQ is the only surviving member from the Wolves as the sapling chases him down.
And the rest of Origen have already turned to Baron. It was a Hail Mary play out of the Wolves, and it's going to be a surrender vault.
Throwing in the towel, Stress. Copenhagen Wolves, they just do not feel confident in this one and just look towards the next game. Wow.
I mean, it felt like a desperate play, and it was a desperate play out of the Copenhagen Wolves Academy team. Just, they felt like they were so far behind with a comp that needed to be ahead, or at least even at that point in the game. Origen still looking spectacular.
You know, sometimes it is just best to cut your losses and not just sit in the game that you're going to lose anyway and decrease your team mentality. It may have been the right call there just to cut it and just look towards the next game and see if they can win these next 3 games in a row, but it's a big ask against Origen.
It's a massive ask against Origen. We went through this in the pre-game, where it's players that have been to Worlds, players that have won the European LCS multiple times, and now you're 1 game away from being out of the contention for the automatic spot for the LCS. I mean, the Copenhagen Wolves Academy have to do something right now. They have to bring one of their strange, quirky picks out if they want to beat Origen, because Standard just isn't cutting it.
Yeah, I mean, no one can really doubt the player pedigrees from Origen. As you mentioned, world-class players coming to the stage here in the LCS studio, but Lowland Lions, or rather Copenhagen Wolves Academy, now that's been drilled into my head over the last 6 weeks, so I can't get it out just yet. But yeah, they have a long way to go. We've said it multiple times, but I'm going to say it again because it still remains to be true. And you mentioned about maybe some quirky picks, but again, we were talking about this during the break. The way I feel about their picks is they're not stuff that have been innovated into the meta. They're stuff that they like to play and will try and fit it in where it works, rather than seeing what works that's up to date.
Yeah, that's very true, but I think the picks and bans has gone very much so in Origen's favor. They've been getting the Maokai every game. They've got the LeBlanc this game as well. I feel like those are 2 picks that really Copenhagen Wolves have to look to ban away, especially the Maokai. Soaz is doing so much work this series on that Maokai top.
Yeah, at least something needs to give. The LeBlanc has been a major pain point for them. I mean, blowing up the tank before a fight even starts, that should never happen. A LeBlanc should never be in a position where she kills your front line by herself. And yeah, I mean, they just need to make some serious reiterations as we head into this one, but then that leaves other gaps open in their game plan. It means they're not banning out other picks that they may want to use. And specifically in this champion select, they were picking away picks from Origen, so maybe not even playing to their same style, but they've tried everything. They've tried doing that, they've tried going with their comfort picks, and neither worked.
So one of my issues here is they've been banning Malphite. The Wolves have been banning Malphite, and just nothing really has been going towards Malphite for Origen, so I think that's the ban they have to drop.
Well, now one game closer to the LCS. Let's send it over to the analyst desk for a look into Origen's second win.
We are already in the LCS, actually, all of us, but no, never mind. Anyway, it's gone from bad to worse for Copenhagen Wolves Academy. Yet, in picks and bans, as said, so comfort picks in game 1, and this one trying to take a couple of things away from Origen. At least they're trying some different things.
They are trying some different things, and something that I want to highlight here for Copenhagen Wolves Academy. Game 1, there was nothing wrong with the team comp. We were discussing quite heavily after the previous analyst desk block. It wasn't the team comp that cost them. In this particular matchup, again, you had two teams that had great scaling, that could do very good things. Vladimir, Cassio, very strong. Sejuani plus Graves, you've got good engage, you've got good damage. The problem for Copenhagen Wolves Academy is the decision-making. Consistently, we're seeing these guys make mechanical mistakes on their respective champions, and they're making strategic mistakes when it comes to where each individual component is going and what the team is doing as a unit. I actually really like their team composition, and I felt if Copenhagen Wolves did not give up too much ground within 10, 15 minutes, they could do well. The problem is they're not doing that. They're giving up too much. They're letting Origen run over them. And this is not the same Copenhagen Wolves Academy that we've been watching throughout the entirety of the round robin.
The weird thing is they pick these comps which are really weak in lane swaps, and they also don't know how to play the lane swaps in the same, same situation. So when you have a weak lane swap comp and a weak lane swap, Origen is just going to swap on you every single time and win the early game from it. Vladimir is not good in a swap. Aurelia is not good in a swap. And that's why, so when they banned Malphite in game 1, it was to pick Aurelia because Malphite destroys her in the lane, or well, beats her in the lane. This situation, they took Vladimir, then don't ban the Malphite. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Then you ban the Maokai instead. But you pick these comps here, which are super hard for you to play. And Kiri, again, sadly, does not know where to be on the map in the early game.
Yeah. And I was expecting more from Kire. He had all the tools in his inventory to actually turn this game around. Like the Sejuani with the Vladimir and the Graves. You have insane burst potential against something like a LeBlanc and a Kog'Maw, which is, especially the Kog'Maw, is like kind of immobile. And you can get this combo off. And surrendering early, I think they just take their time right now and rethinking because they have the tools. And I think this is just something I would really...
Just very quick on the Kyrie points. We were looking at the stats of the two performances. 0-7-1 in game 1 in Italy. 2-6-1 now on this game, Sejuani. 13 deaths across the two games. I mean, our stats guy's quoting it as poop. And the decision-making is poop. And it is one of the big problems.
Yeah.
Every single engage, especially in the early game, especially in a lane swap, Kyrie has to wake up.
Yeah, and to me, it's well, especially what we've said before, they're playing without pressure. It is getting to them, and the only one you can see it blatantly is, of course, is Karev, because if he's not going to get ahead, even with the lane swaps messing up, you see that he is not going where he wants to go because he just can't decide and can't figure it out.
Exactly. It's just lack of experience, honestly, playing lane swaps, also now on the big stage where you got to make these decisions all the time. And of course, now we're talking so much about Copenhagen Wolves Academy, them not doing what they're supposed to, or maybe picking some comps that are very hard for them to play. Origen is also playing this so well. I mean, they're making all the right calls in the swaps. The team fighting, how they spread out, to avoid the Sejuani ulti, to avoid the Vladimir ulti. They do it so well, and Niels on this hyper carry is just cleaning house left and right. So obviously Origen is playing this fantastic. And that's also why they're winning so easily.
They sure are. Let's take a look at one of the replays from that game that Origen wins very, very, very convincingly over at Dragon.
Yeah, you can see here that Copenhagen Wolves Academy is trying to engage, and they are all bundled up together, and I think nobody really knows when the engage is coming from Kire. He still has ultimate here, and they are going on the tank, going into the choke, and Niels is just free to auto-attack the entire time. The Morgana binding hits, and now we see the ultimate on Source alone. when there's nobody else, and Niels right now just playing very, very aggressive. Goes for the flash auto, taking kills actually Sejuani there, which is really strong play from him.
And also this fight here, Copenhagen Wolves Academy were lacking some very key items before going into the fight. I mean, Cassiopeia was sitting on a tier and a Negatron cloak. Like, that's 0 damage. You have nothing really to add. So unless you pull off that Sejuani ulti into a Vladimir ulti and you take down a carry, you're not going to win the fight. And again, you saw how Origen is spread out multiple sides here. Source does teleport in fairly late, but it doesn't matter because the whole fight is already won at that point. And it just became so hard for Copenhagen Wolves Academy to do anything once they fell really far behind.
Yeah, I felt there was a lot of pressure going into this contest for the Drake, especially they had Xpeke behind them and they didn't really know when to engage and how to engage, and Origen was like way more comfortable with the situation. Xpeke jumps in from behind, puts them together in a ball, and Kirei looks for the ultimate but doesn't find any kind of group players up, and they spread out. They just go back because they are looking for this ultimate, and in the end it hits the Maokai. That's not really what you want.
Yeah, so Copenhagen Wolves Academy, they're down 0-2. And from game 1 to game 2, we said, okay, maybe if they change a couple things up. Now you still say the tools are there. But I dare say that even with all the tools there, it's going to be incredibly hard and maybe even a bit too early for them to make this much of a jump. Because playing versus Origen, it is just a huge, huge thing to do.
It is, and I think for Copenhagen Wolves Academy, they now have to go off the wall. They now have to go completely off guard because, or off meta. Because if they play anything related to standard, anything that Origen have seen before in the past, Origen's got more experience, probably better players and better decision making. So they need to get surprised. They need to get a Shaco in their face. They need to get a Karthus. They need to get something that can scare them.
I'm just so afraid because when it comes to top lane picks where they do have some of their different ones like Fiora, none of them do well in that lane swap. So Origen's going to do exactly the same every game. They're just going to swap away from them and just get the big lead early on, and there's no answer.
Follow them around the map.
I mean, they kind of, this game, they saw them go top lane. They would have been a little bit late, but I would have still sent my Graves Lulu top, even though I would have been maybe 2 or 3 minions late, and taking that 2-on-2 lane just to get Vladimir in the 1-on-1 against Maokai.
Yeah, and I think Origen is driving off the lane swaps really good. Like, they have this Irelia that needs to be equally strong to go for, like, the trade-off or for the kill, which is like a fighter champion. You want to fight with this champion on the lane at some point and all in the enemy, and Origen is just denying that really well. And we saw the one time that the Fiora was working really well against Gamers 2. That was just a lane swap working out really well for Lowland Lions and formerly Lowland Lions. And I think right now it's just still in my head. And I think that against Origen it's incredibly hard to get a advantageous lane swap for yourself going.
Yep, it is, but they're going to have to try as they look towards Game 3. We're going to hear from you guys at home as you've been sending in your answers to our social media question. Who is your Challenger Series MVP and why? And you sure had a lot to say, as you always do, and we love that, of course. Our first tweet is from @TomDLR. My EUCS MVP is Morsu. Great carry top laner. His off-meta picks are crucial for Copenhagen Wolves Academy. I would love to see him in the LCS versus a player like Oruwamne.
Oh, I agree. I would love to see him also in the LCS. I think he has a very nice style, great mechanics, and yeah, he's not afraid to play these different champions. A bit like also like Visichachi from the Unicorns. Yeah. Looking at this series, obviously he's not been able to do anything because again, he gets no help. He gets on these champions, he gets in a lane swap, and he's kind of just left on his own.
Feels like Dyrus.
Possibly, yeah. And therefore, we don't really get to see much from Morsu. But before the finals, I would say he's definitely been one of the MVPs.
Yep, super interesting to watch as well. Our second tweet is from @RedXStriker. My EUCS MVP by far has been Origen's amazing. His performance since the start has just been amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Great.
It never gets old. For amazing, I think the problem that we have to address is how do we lose him on the analyst desk? At this point in time, it's looking very serious that Origen is going to qualify. And I like the fact he's playing carries. I like the fact he's playing aggressive and he's in everybody's faces. It's something he's done all split long. And I think that style can do well on our big stage.
We still got Cyanide, so we're fine for now.
We are fine. We have a lot of very interesting people to talk to.
Then, sorry, and you as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, but I'm really happy we have Cyanide as well here. I like the guy.
Yeah, we all like the guy. Our last tweet is from @FungusorV. To leave a top-tier team and start over clean takes guts. Xpeke for MVP. Sheepy, you were kind of in the same boat. Not that you were as good of a mid laner as Xpeke maybe, but you also took the reins of your own team, and it does take a lot.
Yeah, I think that what he's doing here is really remarkable. bringing your own team in here, doing so many decisions, apart from being this amazing mid laner that we see, especially today again. I think that is just MVP worthy as well by itself. And I think just FLICKR doing a lot for the team, understanding everybody. And I think that's just something that I personally really like to see in the LCS like this.
Not everyone who tries it has the same amount of success. We always appreciate you guys and girls writing in. And remember, you can always add to the discussion by tweeting at LL Esports with the hashtag EUCS. Now we need to take a quick break, but when we return, it is do or die for Copenhagen Wolves Academy with Origen a win away from the LCS.